Today I forgot to thaw chicken, so this is what I decided to make. I'm going to show you easy chicken and dumplings. Here we go. Okay, so today I'm going to make chicken and dumplings with frozen chicken breast that I forgot to thaw. It doesn't matter, it's going to work. So I'm filling a pot with water and I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. And now I'm going to add 2 frozen chicken breasts. And this video is less of a recipe and more of a what to do when you forget to thaw the chicken. I'm going to add some cracked black pepper. I'm also going to add like a tablespoon and a half of chicken bouillon powder into the mix. Essentially, you can season and flavor how you prefer. I'm going in with some onion powder. I'm also going to add a couple of shakes of garlic powder. And I'll tell you what, I have made chicken and dumplings before in the past. I will link that recipe video if you want a more thorough recipe for chicken and dumplings. Today, it's just eyeballing whatever. Here I have Montreal chicken seasoning going in. I'm going to add 1 dried bay leaf. And then I'm going to bring that up to a boil. Now, because the chicken breast is frozen, I couldn't tell you how long it's going to take. You're just going to boil it until it starts to cook. So here I'm going to add some salt and some more cracked black pepper. I actually like a lot of cracked black pepper in my chicken and dumplings, but you add to your preference. So I'm going to break this apart and it's completely cooked through. So what I'm going to do is fish around for the bay leaf first of all. You don't want to leave that in there too long. So here's the bay leaf, yay. I'm going to put that on the side. And now I'm going to take about 3/4 of a cup to a cup of this broth. And this is what I'm going to use to create the dough for the dumplings in this. And if you want an even quicker recipe, you could use canned biscuit dough. My grandmother used to do that. Okay, so for the dough, I'm going to use 2 cups of all-purpose flour. It's somewhere like 2 cups to 2.5 cups. And now I'm just going to pour in little by little this hot broth. You'll want to use a spoon or something to mix it because it's really hot. And I'm just going to combine this until the dough comes together. So it's like 3/4 of a cup to a cup of broth that you'll want to use for 2 to 2.5 cups of flour. I'm not going to add anything else in this. The broth is seasoned, so it all works. Give it a mix with a spoon, and then once you can handle it, start working the dough and bringing it together with your hands. And this will be a soft and tacky dough. And if the dough is not workable, then you'll want to add more flour. I'm actually going to add like 1/4 cup more of flour to work with this. And so what I'm going to do now is just add the flour. I think it needs a little bit more. This is not a little, it's a lot. Like I said, you want to just bring it together. I didn't completely measure everything. So like I stated earlier, I will link another chicken and dumplings recipe if you really want everything measured. Okay, so the dough has come together. I am going to sprinkle some more all-purpose flour onto the work surface, just like this. And I'm going to just kind of dust it and press it into a disc. And now with my rolling pin, I'm actually going to half this because it'll be too big for my work area, and just roll this onto a round surface. And you want to kind of roll it and flatten it and add as much flour as you want. Any excess flour is going to go into the broth and thicken it. With my pizza cutter, I'm going to dust both sides with a little extra flour here, and I'm just going to cut it into small squares. Some people just like to hand tear the dumplings and toss it into the boiling broth. That is another method, but this is also easy. And I'm just going to cut across into squares, and I will repeat the process for the second part of the dough that I halved. And like I said earlier, after I cut all of this, I am going to sprinkle some more flour. And you'll want to dust it with flour so that it stays separated in your bowl for when you go to add it to the boiling broth later. So the chicken breast is completely cooked. I'm going to remove it from the boiling broth, and I'm going to chop or shred it. You do what you like. So while the broth is boiling, I am going to add my dumpling dough, or the dumplings. So you notice how there's just a lot of broth. Once I add all of the dumplings, I started doing it one by one, but it kind of splashes and burns. So just dump it all in there, just kind of shake it in there. And you'll want to give it a mix to make sure everything kind of separates and it doesn't stick together into one clump. But you'll notice that this is kind of like extra brothy, and I'll tell you why. Because of this guy. You guys know him from the last video. Yeah, him. He wanted it extra brothy. I like a creamier, thicker texture to the broth, or viscosity. He likes it brothy, so I did that for him today. But if you're making this, you can add extra flour or just take some of the broth out or let it cook down and evaporate a little bit. So as you can see, I'm gonna add the chicken because the dumplings are floating to the surface. That's a good indication after about 10 minutes that they're cooked through. So I'm gonna add all of my shredded chicken. I kind of left it into big chunks. It was kind of hot. I kind of shredded it with like the tongs here. So I'm just gonna add the rest of this in. I'm going to give it a mix, and you'll also want to give it a taste. Adjust the salt and seasoning to your preference. And that's it. Let it cook for an additional 5 to 10 minutes, and it's ready. And if you don't want this extra brothy or soupy, then, lay off of the water when you go to boil the chicken breast. You could even do this with chicken legs or chicken thighs. It all works. Add the frozen chicken into some cold water. Turn on the heat, let it boil until it cooks through, and shred it, put it into a soup. Today, I put it into chicken and dumplings. And it's so good. I hope you give this recipe a try. I hope you like it. And thanks for watching.